Hello everyone, this is GT Time. I'm your moderator, Kyle Bossman, and joining us as always is our uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones.
That's me.
Daniel Bloodworth.
I'm actually prepared because Kyle actually sent it out.
And in the guest seat, Ben Moore.
Hello. Starts right out with a dig.
He starts, I gotta just roll right through it. Ben Moore,
Yes.
we've been having a segment with each person in the guest seat.
All right.
How did you get to game trailers?
I was an intern in 2011. Miguel Lopez, former reviews editor of the site,
I saw
said,
Miguel
hey,
at Witcher.
Miguel Lopez is a very intelligent, awesome person. He said, we're looking for interns. I sent him maybe the worst professional email I've ever sent in my life because all I did was gush about Metal Gear Solid, and that worked.
Wait, please be more specific.
Well, you know, I emailed him and he said, what are your qualifications?
Okay.
And I pretty much just said, I love Metal Gear Solid.
Yes.
And it was a different time, but it worked, and I got in, and I really loved doing it. And apparently, because we were, part of Viacom, and we were owned by MTV Networks, apparently some of the interns thought it was going to be kind of like MTV, and when they had to do stuff like capture or just like routine, typical intern stuff, they weren't into it, so they didn't work very hard. But I only care about video games, so I loved it and I was enthusiastic, so it worked. And then after college, I freelanced for a little bit, and eventually one day I said, hey, can I have a job? And then I have a job.
Wow.
That's how it worked.
What did you go to college for?
Journalism.
Cool.
Yeah.
I should have done that probably.
He's probably one of the most legit people on our staff.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Big secret. Legit.
Yeah.
Should we rank the legitimacy of our employees?
I don't know, man.
I've wanted to do the top 10 GT employees for a very long
I
time.
don't even have a degree, so.
I honestly, I think I'm probably swimming around the bottom of the legitimacy barrel.
It's funny when you talk to people and you ask what their major is.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're doing something that couldn't be more opposite of what they studied, and you realize all that time you spent fretting in college about what you were majoring in probably doesn't matter that much outside of specific fields.
But in your own case, do you think of a lot of the journalism classes you took while you're writing a review or doing some of your videos or anything?
Yeah, I mean, what's good about journalism is all about cutting the fat. So that was a skill that definitely helped me in my scripts. It's like, no, actually, I don't need to talk about any of this, and you just get rid of it. But if I had to do a serious report, if CNN was like, hey, we need you to cover this thing, I would flounder. That's just a skill I haven't practiced in so long.
Right.
That's why I actually don't listen to This American Life, because it's just like, we're all shams. It's like, it's like, and now an actual interesting story, and it's like, oh wow, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Versus like,
But what you're saying
Nintendo did this.
about cutting the fat, I remember, man, when I was working in newspaper and my editor, like the notes that you would get would be depressing because they're like, basically, no, you have to use less advanced language so that more people will understand what you're writing.
That's right.
That's actually a really, really, really good skill that I think
Yeah.
is hard to learn until somebody forces it into your head. It's just because you know certain words does not mean it's correct to use them. Like, it actually makes you sound more like an idiot.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Right on a fourth grade
But
level.
even if you're
Yeah.
correctly using them, people will be like, no.
Like
Yeah, it can
sometimes
be alienating.
Sometimes when I would read a Ryan Stevens script, I would imagine like American Gladiator, where he's like throwing like Nerf balls at me while I'm like trying to read, and just be like, haha, say that word, and I'm just like, what? Like, I would always have thesaurus.com opened.
You have to be like Jon Stewart, and you can throw in some words like that, but you also have to do dumb comedy at the same time, I think it's a balance.
Well, for Stewart, he's reading something. You can see him with the piece of paper in front of him, like he's got a prompter.
No, sometimes in
Where
just
for
in
me, it's
interviews,
like,
he'll throw
if
out a
you're
word. It's just like, what is that word? What
Right.
did you just say? And it's just like, yeah, I just know a bunch of words like that. Speaking about how we're all shams, let's do some corrections.
All right.
Begin corrections.
Big corrections paragraph.
I have a
this time.
paragraph of corrections this week, so just ease in, get ready for a lot of this song that's playing right now. Final Fantasy 14 and 11 were both cross-compatible, so we've already had
a correction if it's an example we didn't bring up.
Yeah, a strong example, because you were able to play PlayStation and Xboxes, they were able to exist in the same
I
universe.
see.
11,
NPC.
11 rules. Just putting it out there.
11's a great game. Unreal Tournament 3 on PS3 was not cross-compatible with PCs, but did have a keyboard and mouse.
And what it was is it supported the mods. Like people could import mods from the PC. That's where I
That's
got my
very
head
interesting.
mixed up, yeah.
That's cool. The Italian job ride at Canada's Wonderland is now called Backlot Stunt Coaster, not, as Elise suggested, the movie ride. Interesting also, Top Gun is now called Flight Deck, and Tomb Raider is now called Time Warp. Canada's Wonderland.
Time Warp?
Yeah, I would love to go to that theme park.
They had to like redo a lot of stuff to make that happen. I know, That's
Tomb
weird.
Raider into Time Warp. Google Glass is not a failure. It has graduated to a full project from the experimental incubator Google X. It is under the supervision of Tony Fadell, the guy behind iPod and Nest. It should also be noted that Google invested around $500 million into Magical Leap, a company developing tech that is apparently doing the same thing as HoloLens. Okay, Google Glass is not a failure, is what we learned from that. Speaking of HoloLens, many commenters contended that it is more legitimate than I believed it to be, so I will give the technology the benefit of the doubt. Henceforth, I'll say, yeah, HoloLens probably works. Can't wait to see it when it does.
I mean, we saw it in the future on Parks and Rec, so
Yeah.
it's gotta be.
There's some cool stuff on Parks and Rec right now. And District 13 apparently was the parkour movie we were trying to think of. And correction
okay.
music.
Nice.
Whoa.
Well, there should be different categories. You need another song, okay?
Okay.
Well, I mean, is it corrections and clarifications?
It is corrections and clarifications. I
I
should
just
have made
get
that
so
clear.
confused when
Yeah.
they're just thrown about willy-nilly like that. When it's like a correction and then a clarification and then a correction and then it's like,
It's basically, it's
what did
last
we do?
week's
What are we
business.
supposed to learn from this?
It's last
I
week's
need to get my
business is the name
corrections
of that.
first, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll do that better next time. And then clarification's like, oh, okay, nice.
Brandon,
That's what that was called. But like at the time, I knew that's what I knew. We didn't know the name of it.
You did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong last week.
It's all guilt.
When I was reading through the corrections and clarifications, I didn't understand most of them, and I was really confused at under what context did these things come up.
You ended the music, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Showbiz, it's a bad way to start a show. You should never start your show with all of this last week's business because it's very likely this could be the first time somebody's watching this show, or maybe they missed last week. That person's lost. But you know,
I love how you're telling yourself that you're doing your show wrong.
you gotta know
you
the
seen his
rules.
show
You
that
gotta
he
know
also
the
does?
rules to break the rules. That's how you do it. That's how you do this. So let's talk. Do you all know my favorite way to start this show?
We should by now.
Game announcements.
Oh, yeah,
Love
yeah.
game announcements.
Yeah.
We have a game announcement this week.
Was there a trailer?
And there was a trailer even.
I know where
Yes.
this is going.
Dragon's Dogma Online.
Right.
It's not deep down.
It's not deep down.
Am I the only person you included in this room that hasn't played Dragon's Dogma?
I haven't played it.
Ian loves Dragon's
Really?
Dogma.
You haven't?
No.
Even Blood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma seems like a game that I would absolutely love.
Brandon, please,
Whoa.
please.
I should know better than to say this in front of Ben.
But yeah, this is where we get Ben Moore's personal insight.
So sure, from someone who's a big fan of this series,
Mm-hmm.
are you excited about Dragon's Dogma Online?
Yeah, because Justin Spears, of this former reviews editor of the site, he said it looks like Dragon's Dogma, but with other people. And that's all you need. Dragon's Dogma is a game that always felt like it would be better with more people in it. I
Yeah.
don't care if it is not the most amazing looking game. I don't care if it even has the tech problems that old Dragon's Dogma did, because that's not why I play Dragon's Dogma. It is a very strange game with a super bizarre tone, and the fighting is so distinct as long as that stuff is intact, but I get to do that with friends. Like, can you imagine Michael Huber, right? You're fighting a Cyclops with Michael Huber, okay? And
He's
then
on top of it, for
He
sure.
jumps on top of it
Yeah.
screaming. That's a moment I'll never forget.
So that's to anyone not familiar with Dragon's Dogma, that's a unique thing about it is how much grappling you do with the enemies, which I actually really appreciate. It makes everything more real if I can actually grab onto a huge monster. Another thing to explain about Dragon's Dogma is that in that first game, it's you and 3 NPCs that aren't quite NPCs. They're not quite human. They're called pawns. And they're people in your party, and they'll talk to you, but they are admittedly not human. They're just like, they only can speak about combat and areas and things like that.
The only thing that I'll say is, despite kind of the structure of it, where you kind of just go around complete quest killing big things, it actually had a very bizarre story that it put a lot of effort into, and the payoff was huge at the end. I think if it loses that, it will feel a little bit more generic. Like, we already have a ton of games that kind of do the quest kill thing already. So I hope it retains its identity with this online transition.
Is that the actual title?
Dragon's Dogma Online,
Yeah.
yes.
The thing that kind of sucks though is so far they're saying it's only announced for Japan.
Correct.
So we gotta wait for the announcement that we're actually gonna get it.
I think it'll happen. I think if it takes off, it'll happen. Here's another thing we haven't mentioned yet. This is a free-to-play game.
That makes it feel somewhat less likely to come out of Japan.
When I say Capcom and then I immediately follow it with microtransactions, like I can't be optimistic about
Gives
that.
you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, it's bad.
But the trailer makes this look like the game's okay, right?
Yeah.
Are you? Brandon's not even concerned. Free-to-play does not phase him any longer.
No, I tell you what. You know what I like, and I actually was talking to a friend last night about multiplayer in Dragon Age, which you were kind of excited about. That ended up like okay, it was an interesting experiment.
It's okay.
What I would like BioWare to do is to split, to make, like, okay, let's make the next Dragon Age game, and let's take that multiplayer thing and make a separate game. Let's, like, give it to a whole new team and just have them figure the whole thing out. So I like that. I like that it's not, that they're not making another Dragon's Dogma, and then it's going to have this weird multiplayer offshoot or something that, like, that just didn't get the time or the care that it deserves. And so, like, I'm not saying that this is going to happen here, but I like that it's a separate project. I like that it was... So there's a lot of games that's like, oh, that'd be cool if it was multiplayer. They should just make a multiplayer version of this. So it's cool that they're doing it.
And they might be. Like, there could still be a Dragon's Dogma 2.
Right. Especially if you had other people in your party and you literally just have to give them life. It's like, that just is going to be a player now. Done. You don't have to, you know, think about it past that. Just make it work.
It's weird though because Dragon's Dogma Online feels like a natural extension of Dragon's Dogma. I mean, it's hard when you're running around with your pawns not to constantly envision them as other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could send my pawn to Ben's game.
Yeah.
So it is.
Right.
You're right. It was very
like
close.
desperately
It was almost
reaching
there.
out towards multiplayer. So
Yeah.
it's hard not to view this as a sequel in a way.
Yeah.
But I like the title because it's not like, you know, Dragon's Dogma Revengeance or something where you're like, oh, it's the next chapter of Dragon's Dogma. They're like, no, there'll probably be a story in it, but it's that concept, that game online. And so, yeah, if you have microtransactions, like you're not going, what? You know, this is betraying the story you're trying to tell. We're like, now tell them a huge story here, make it a fun game that you can customize. You can beat the hell out of ogres.
I
you know,
would
like-
I would pay any amount of money for Dragon's Dogma Revengeance. Any amount.
There are many franchises that you get revenged.
Do you think? Wasn't the crystal that could take you back to fast travel? Wasn't that a limited resource? I think that might be something
Fairy
they charge you
stone.
for.
Unless you have the Dark Arisen after already owning the original.
Yeah.
What he said.
Okay, so if you couldn't hear that, that's if you have the Dark Arisen after owning the original, you can fast travel as much as you want. I wonder if those crystals are something they'll add money
Sure.
to.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of things where like bringing in money to that game that
Right.
always sketches me out, always makes me nervous. A couple other game announcements.
Unless
we
you're
should
honest
do.
about it. Unless you set that up. Because the nervousness and the anxiety comes from not knowing.
You're right.
Because it's like, what are
Absolutely.
they going to do? But again, if they're like, Dragon's Dogma Online, that's it. It's a thing we're doing that, hey, if it makes a lot of money, we'll get to make another Dragon's Dogma, you know?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
something else that's cool. So I think as long as you're just upfront and you're just like, hey, you know, same thing with DLC and extra bonus stuff is like, as long as you just put it at the end of all your trailers, you're fine. Moving on.
Yeah. So a couple other game announcements just happened. Lego Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World, probably.
What?
Lego Avengers.
Whoa, I didn't know this.
Yeah, that just happened this morning.
Whoa.
I just
Nice.
saw that this morning.
I'm pumped. I'm so pumped for these games. Talk me down.
Well, we had Lego Avengers. What is
Lego Marvel 2
What is
with
Lego
Chris-
Avengers going to do that arguably the best Lego game they've ever made or didn't do already?
I don't know.
You know?
We'll see.
And really
Ultron.
celebrate not just the Avengers. It's like we can have a better story, like cooler action. You know, it's like not that those aren't cool in these games, but it's like how are you going to elevate it? You know,
Right.
past this game that had more characters in one brand than anything I've ever seen. Screw Lego, anything I've ever seen anything do. Like I love Disney Infinity, and like there's a ridiculous amount of characters. We scored Lego Marvel higher than I scored 2.0. You know, and that was Legos. And these are like, you know, realistically sized Avengers.
I asked
Lego
for you to
Jurassic,
talk me down.
way down.
I asked for you to talk
Totally
me down, and you did it. Wait, so why is? Oh, because we haven't had Lego.
That's kind of how I felt about Lego
dinosaurs.
Batman 3, which is totally not fair because I haven't played it, but
Yeah.
it was like, it should be called Lego Justice League. It's weird that you're like, remember in Lego Batman 2 when we brought all the other DC people in?
Yeah.
We're bringing in like 10% more. Dun dun dun! And I'm just like, okay, it makes sense that you're making the sequel, but
It's a
I'm
fair
not
analysis,
like,
yeah.
you know, freaking out about it. It's kind of like Indiana Jones Chronicles 2 or whatever, the other
yeah.
Lego game. You're like, okay, more of all right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
but,
that was not a good game to.
It's cool when Lego just does something, nails it, and then moves on
Yeah.
to something new instead of like you got to make as much money as possible. Jurassic World, totally different story.
It's an opportunity.
If it's the whole package,
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3 in world.
Oh.
I will make time for that. Because that's one of those things that even if you're like, oh, Jurassic Park 3 was so bad, it's like, in a Lego, I don't care.
Yeah.
That, like, the Lego version of the movie will be 20 times better than the movie
They're going to
itself.
make fun of how bad that movie is. Yeah.
Like the guy getting, eaten on the toilet, I can't wait.
You
I
know
can't wait
it's
to see
coming.
all those scenes.
Yeah. And what if we get to
The
be a
fear,
T-Rex?
like all those scary scenes, the little kids, oh my God.
Yeah.
This
Huge
would be great.
potential there. When you just say Lego Jurassic World, like your mind bursts open with opportunity.
Especially because there a lot of stuff they're doing is really open world based, and it's like all of those things are like an area. So
And when you say Lego Avengers, it's almost constricting. It's like, wait, so the X-Men won't be there? Yeah, I
cool.
get what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I get what you mean.
But yeah, because Marvel's like Marvel, the Avengers is like Avengers, so it's weird to like downsize for a sequel.
Well, technically, it's
I'm just a big wet blanket. today.
Lego Marvel's
Lego World.
Avengers is the title of that game.
Sure.
But we'll all call it Lego Avengers. Let's talk some other news. Here's a weird one. The Nintendo's Creator Program. Nintendo Creators Program.
Yeah.
Nintendo's Nintendo Creator Program.
Audible sigh from Ben Moore on the other side of the couch.
Starting its beta. Yeah, we should go into why you're sighing. We should explain it a little bit first. This is Nintendo's initiative to make money off of the videos people are making using Nintendo videos on YouTube.
Well, I think for context, I think right now what they're doing is if they identify something as using their copyright, then they just go ahead and they put ads on it and they're getting 100%. Now they're offering this deal to where you can become a partner and you will get 60% per video from each video, or if you have a channel that's just these approved videos, you'll get an extra 10% bump.
Yeah, so you'll get 70% of your own ad revenue and you give 30 to Nintendo. Ben, why does this make you sigh?
Because it's still backwards. Because it's not. It doesn't make any sense. Nintendo. The worst part about it is there are still games that are not approved, right?
Yeah.
And they're
Pushmo
arguably some
World,
of
for instance, you cannot.
Bayonetta 2,
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers for Wii U, still not part of this deal. And also, so many publishers, even Japanese publishers, have been vocal in saying, no, go ahead, monetize. It's free advertising. Like, so many people only go to YouTube to find out about video games. So placing any sort of restriction is only hurting you. And also, in a weird way, it's almost like Nintendo is saying, we're more important than all of these other publishers that are just letting you do it and giving you free reign. We deserve a cut. And it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. If you look at the response from popular YouTube people, they're up in arms about it. They don't like it. And so once again, Nintendo is putting itself in a bad position where it could just make the easy call and say, no, please continue to give
Yeah.
us free advertising.
And you can't mix in. That's the other thing too. You can't mix in and do something that combines things, right? Like if you had a clip from Bayonetta in your video, then your video no longer qualifies. You can't have something with a bunch of different clips. You can't put Sonic in your video. Like it can't have any other thing. And then here's the other thing. I mean, because you're entering into a business contract with Nintendo, and you're agreeing to these terms and these percentages. And here's the thing that really bugs me is that they're saying that like, hey, we'll pay you for this, because you made this video or whatever, and it's our properties, but we recognize that you can get some money, but we can use your video anywhere we like. We can use it as a Super Bowl ad if we like, but we don't owe you anything at that point.
I'm sorry, that's in the agreement?
Yeah, they can use it as much
They
as they
own
want
my
to.
video that I made?
They don't own it, but they say
can
that
use
they
it.
have the right to use it however they like.
Wow. If you're listening, if you were thinking about doing that, you're giving up a lot.
And they also say that they can change those percentages
Arbitrarily.
Yeah, that is the word they use.
They got the worst fine print in the business. It's like everything they do, like that's every Nintendo conversation you've ever had with a friend of yours. Is like, did you hear what Nintendo's doing? What? This? That sounds great. Yeah, but
You also might not
Yeah.
get paid for
there's
2 months.
they're like it's weird. It's like, oh, dude, online, like really cool. It's like kind of. You gotta.
But
even
I like the but, yeah.
2015, I finally got a Wii U, and it's like, okay, wait, how do we codes or what? What?
You don't have codes anymore? You guys
But-
got a name.
It's still, they're still like, I don't know, it's still weird.
I was just telling you this morning, I came to you and I said, Kyle Bossman, Captain Toad is amazing. I played it for the first time last night.
Yeah.
If I go back and I look back at all the 2014 games that I loved, a lot of them are Nintendo games.
Yeah.
They are making incredible games that are such a high quality, and it's just wrapped in all of this ugliness. And if they could just remove that, they're hamstringing themselves, and they're so capable of not doing this. These simple things that they could, like, just put the charger in the box. Just put it in the box.
Put it in the box. Just put the charger in the box. Thank you, Ben.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the other thing too, a lot of people have pointed out that this feels like it is almost primarily targeted to Let's Plays, because they're really only looking at like a single game in a video or something like that. But what kind of is weird is when you get into all this copyright stuff is that like video games are really unlike anything else. It's like you can recognize it. Okay, Nintendo like did all this artwork, they did all this coding and animation and stuff, but in a way, depending on like why you're watching this video, I mean, some people are going to watch videos just because they don't know whether or not to buy a game, but a lot of these Let's Players or speedrunners and things like that, and it's almost like Nike telling the guy playing basketball that, hey, you're wearing our shoes, so you wouldn't have been able to do this without our shoes. So, we're going to take the money off the top, and we'll decide how much, we owe you now.
I think that's an extreme comparison.
But I think, I mean, in some cases, that's exactly what it is. It's like there's people out there who just, without any commentary, without any editing or anything else, they can do things in those games that nobody else can do. There's stuff that I've seen in F-Zero GX that guy playing it on that speed run, there's nobody else in the freaking world that's going to do that.
And Nintendo wants some of that. So this is the thing that rubs me the wrong way. Is Nintendo's getting 30% or 40%? Nintendo doesn't need that money. To me, this is like some weird spiteful thing. They see someone else making money off their games and they're like, hey, I want some of that. It's like, Nintendo, you don't need it.
It's a principle thing. It's a weird principle thing.
It is absolutely what that is. That's what kills me. That's what makes me...
It's a weird thing to announce and dress it up like it's good news.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't...
The Creators
You guys
Program?
can't wait to hear what we're doing. Yeah, Creators Program is a funny name for it.
Yeah.
It was like a year ago, I don't remember the exact time frame, but Satoru Iwata said that he didn't want to devalue Nintendo games, right? So he doesn't just want to throw games onto the App Store because they would be devalued. And in some sense, I agree with him, because when I go to the App Store, most of it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of it is. And so Nintendo does sort of have this philosophy, and the approach they've taken with DLC, I think, is very commendable. If you look at the Mario Kart DLC, it's super reasonably priced. You're getting a ton of stuff, and it's all very well done. And that just, most of the time, isn't true. And so, in some ways, I understand where they're coming from, where they want to protect the integrity of their games, but they can't take a blanket approach. They have to look at things individually and see how it's benefiting them and see how people are responding to things. I don't know.
I agree. Blood, thank you for reading the fine print. Here's a weird thing that popped up this week. Sony announces that all of its entertainment services are now within the PlayStation brand. They're all within PlayStation Network. So previously there was Music Unlimited, I think Movies Unlimited was the other
Video
one?
Unlimited.
Video Unlimited.
Yeah.
Everything now, I'll just read through them. Actually, let's make this a game. Brandon.
Yes.
I'm going to say the name of a PlayStation property and you have to tell me what it is.
Okay.
All right, we'll start off easy. PlayStation Store.
That's where you buy things from a PlayStation.
PlayStation Plus.
That's the service that gives you free stuff if you pay for it. Premium content on PSN.
PlayStation Video.
Is that the one manages your uploads?
No, this is a buy or rent service. This is what Video Unlimited was.
Oh, okay.
The 200,000 movies where you can buy or rent them.
Okay.
PlayStation Now.
That's the streaming service. The game streams.
PlayStation View.
I don't know.
That's the weird one. That's the one that doesn't exist yet. That's going to be the TV. You live stream TV.
Oh, okay.
What a strange name.
PlayStation View.
Yeah.
It's VUE.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I have seen that logo.
Yeah,
Okay.
we talked about it a few weeks back.
Right, and because Xbox has the Slingbox integration coming soon, so live TV's coming to consoles soon. And then PlayStation Music.
I'm guessing there's music there. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna throw that out there.
Brandon, you
go-
got a pretty good score.
Okay.
But isn't it crazy how many different PlayStation entertainment, like, if you subscribe to all of these things, you're almost a maniac.
It's weird. It's weird that it's not like PlayStation Music, but it's PlayStation like View with a funny spelling. You know, like
Yeah.
some are like really direct. You know, just what is it? PlayStation Video.
Yeah, it should be PlayStation TV. PlayStation View should just be called PlayStation TV.
But PlayStation TV,
TV is
isn't
the
that
Vita.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, that's the obvious bump there. Oh my God. So do we have too many PlayStations now?
Maybe, but I think this is from an overarching Sony perspective, like PlayStation is the thing that's successful.
Yeah.
And I think majority of people that are accessing these services are accessing them from a PlayStation, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, when music was called Curiosity or whatever, like I didn't know what that was. It's just sitting on my dashboard, and I'm like, oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Or Cross Media Bar or whatever.
I
Yeah.
think it was Curiosity.
Curiosity. Yeah.
Curiosity, but with a big letter Q.
But there's a companion announcement to this.
Yes.
For the music, they're getting rid of the old music service and replacing it with Spotify.
Yes, which is huge.
Yeah, well, it's a huge deal for Spotify, for sure.
To listeners, Ben raised to the roof.
I love Spotify. I think it's an excellent service.
So you
I've
use
been
it?
I've been
my.
subscribed to it for like 2 years.
This is great then.
Yeah.
From a music perspective, doesn't Spotify screw?
They totally
music?
screw over
Yeah.
musicians, yeah.
Explain.
So there's that.
You
Explain
can
that.
be like one of the most popular artists in the world and like make $40 over the course of a year. It's just
Oh, ouch.
yeah, the royalties don't make sense. And people have proposed ways that the royalties could benefit everyone, but they're not going to benefit Spotify as much, so they're not really doing it.
I've seen lots of musician friends on Facebook be like, "There is no question, Spotify is the worst." It sucks to.
I feel like a bad person.
It's weird. It's one of those things
because it's a good service for you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like you shouldn't. Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't carry too much guilt.
I mean, music is a
about
weird thing
what music
because
selection you do. It's really on them. Just like Nintendo. It's like if you we can still sit here and complain about the creators program.
Nintendo Creators Program.
But if you're a part of that and enjoy that and are excited about that, like cool, go for it.
Can I make a confession?
Please.
I really hate, so my first sort of digital music service was iTunes, and
Okay.
I thought it was awful. It was very difficult to manage, and it was just a mess. And so I just illegally downloaded things for years because it was the most convenient thing to do. And then Spotify came out, and it was more convenient than me stealing music, so I used Spotify. And what I appreciate about it, and what I appreciate about Netflix and all of these other things is they win because they're the most convenient, you know? And when it's so easy to just Google, torrent of whatever band or artist, you have to be conscious of what you're competing. You're competing with piracy, and so that's something I really respect about Spotify. Is it's so clean, it's so easy to use, it's not that much money, and I get so much out of it.
So on Spotify, can I search for an album and just listen to that album?
Yeah. Well, I haven't used free Spotify for years, but my dad tried it out, and he said, "Hey, why can't I listen to specific albums from this artist?" And I went on my Spotify, and I could. You could only shuffle the music for them, so I think you have to pay to listen to individual albums.
I see.
But I'm not 100%.
What's your subscription? What do you pay?
$8.99.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's a month? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
that's not bad. And a really cool part of this announcement is the statement that on PlayStation 4 you will be able to integrate your Spotify music into games.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically bringing back old features because we've been able to do that since the original Xbox.
Kind of, but a lot of games today ignore it.
Right.
And that bums me out. So when I used to play Street Fighter a lot with my buddies, I had a lot of music on my PlayStation 3 hard drive so that when we're playing Street Fighter, we'd be able to listen to this music while we play. I freaking loved it. And then more and more games stopped using that feature. I guess they're too proud of their own soundtrack.
Well, and now you can't even copy your own music to the PlayStation
Right.
4 like you could
Right.
on the, I've got a ton of music on my PS3 because it's just easy to load stuff on the PS3 and have that running for parties because it's hooked up to my big sound system.
Oh, cool.
Imagine-
Absolutely.
Imagine playing Destiny, a game that's a lot of times very relaxed. You're just killing stuff with your friends.
Yeah.
With your own custom soundtrack, or driving around in Drive Club with your own. That gets me excited. As someone who's super into music and games, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I used it a lot in Burnout 3 on the Xbox. That was what I
Cool,
used
yeah.
to,
Very good
the first
example, yeah.
time and the most, and crap, yeah, I could definitely use it for the crew.
Can it just be said that the world needs another Burnout? That is a void that is not being filled right now.
Wreckfest is still in the works.
Yeah,
Wait, what
Burnout
is
3 still
Wreckfest?
had the best crash mode, right?
Yes.
Like all the crash modes went downhill ever since Burnout 3.
Burnout had a
Oh,
style
Crash
and a
mode was so
tone
great.
that was just so easy to get into, and
What is Wreckfest?
Wreckfest, next car game. You remember that?
So wait, next car game is now named Wreckfest?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Should watch my videos.
there's
You watched
something
the
I
Ultimate
like
Game
about
preview, Cal.
Next Car Game as a title. Is that weird?
I like next car game. Wait, so they're focusing on the wrecking then? They said the most fun part of our game is this weird place with a giant robot spider.
Well, no, I haven't seen. I mean, I haven't kept that close up on their updates.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what I've seen is still very much the traditional tracks and stuff, but they're still in production. So
Cool. I hope they just double down on that stuff.
yeah, I do too.
What's the name of that studio? Werebear or something?
Bugbear.
Bugbear.
Yeah, that's a D&D thing, right?
We fought a bugbear.
We have fought a lot of bugbears.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think it originated in D&D, but I'm not
Okay.
sure.
So that's cool. That's a cool announcement. I'm sorry that Spotify hoses the artists.
Me too.
Just educating the masses. Just get it out there.
Yeah, I mean,
both sides of the story.
I
you know?
think the thing is, like Ben was saying, I think a lot of people realize that. But again, because it's so convenient, it's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'll leave it to the businesses to figure that stuff out, I also think that, I think with music, it's like one of those things because of radio, like we're all just kind of trained to expect, I can just listen to music, unless I really like something, then I'll go out and buy it. Whereas, Spotify, I think, is just, the radio of this generation in a way.
I'm sorry.
A really funny thing happened last night. I found a song that I liked a lot, and I'm like, oh, I'll go download this album. It was only one song. And so I said, I don't want to just buy one song. The artist only made one song. And so I just did not buy that song because I want an album. Stupid story. Brandon, you were about to say something?
I forgot. Never mind.
You forgot what you were about to say.
I was going to say, if all the voice actors, many of the voice actors in your favorite games also got financially screwed, in the process of making those games. But you should still play and enjoy those games. So if you musicians are getting screwed on Spotify, it shouldn't stop you from.
Oh, everyone's
from
getting
using
host.
Spotify.
Everyone's getting host.
If Ben were to leave Spotify today, things wouldn't change.
Yeah. If anything,
So-
this will help them.
Yeah.
This big deal with Sony, this exclusive deal.
Things can only get better.
Yeah. Streaming music, that'll be cool. I hope so. I hope more games are open to allowing us to stream music into them.
Well, it sounded like it's a system feature. I don't know how that'll work.
Oh, so
but-
maybe it works on like another level of the operating system.
Right, like
and
the
so I
share
just
button.
turn off the music in the game I'm playing. It probably works like that.
I'd be
And
curious
that's
to
probably
try
why it only works on PS4, is that it is running on that extra level or something.
Not in Final Fantasy 15, you don't.
Why?
You've never been able to turn down music in any Final Fantasy game.
You can't
Like,
turn down the music in a
nope.
Final Fantasy game?
No.
That's an interesting fact.
I didn't know that because I've never wanted to do that.
Right.
No, Final Fantasy games are
You know when I
perfect
wanted to do
podcasting.
that? You know when I wanted to do that?
Capture.
When I was doing the Final
Yeah.
Fantasy Retro.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Sorry, one last question about Spotify.
sound
Do they have
effects.
podcasts on there?
No,
Okay.
They don't. Huh.
as far as I know.
Interesting.
We should get on there. Let's get on Spotify.
Dragon's Dogma
One thing
Online,
they do,
Yeah.
which is kind of
Radio
cool,
Lab, done.
One thing they do, which is kind of cool, is they have like their own
Now I'm
playlists.
doubting myself.
So like at Christmas time, like if you just want Christmas music, you just go to Spotify Christmas playlist and like all the Christmas music you could want right there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, music streaming basically owned holidays. That was like the first thing that they just, it's like
Yeah.
so simple. Like, 4th of July, boop, done.
So let's move into news bits. Little news bits. Jeff Keighley announced at PAX South that the Game Awards will return in 2015.
Can I make a correction? There
Yes.
are podcasts on Spotify.
Okay.
Just
Oh
check.
man,
Just
we gotta get on
verify.
Spotify. That way, when people are playing Final Fantasy 15, they can listen to like us.
Let's
That'd
do
be
it.
Cool.
But probably they should listen to Radio
We'll get
Lab
paid
first.
nothing, but we can do it.
Listen to yeah. Well,
We just covered that people don't get paid. It's like, hey, let's put our podcast.
it helps our brand. We don't make
That's
any
true.
money off
Right.
podcasts, but it helps our brand. Now people know who Ben Moore is. It's helping the brand. They're gonna follow him on Twitter.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Ben Brand.
So it had been up in the air previously. He said we lost money on the Game Awards. We might not do it.
But I was thinking about that the other day. I was looking at there was some trophy somewhere around Defy, and I saw that, and I thought of the Game Awards trophy, and I thought of like him going to Weta and them designing that whole thing, and like
Yeah.
he doesn't have to do that this time,
Right.
You know, like I think there's a lot of things conceptually that he's like, okay, that's done. We'll just do that show again. We might not do it in the same venue. I hope they do it in the same city. It'd be great to go back to Vegas, but yeah, he doesn't. You know,
If Marty O'Donnell
put-
doesn't have to do a new soundtrack.
The thing is,
yeah.
he put that show together in what, 2-3 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Now he has the whole year to plan it.
I say PlayStation takes Thursday night, Xbox takes Friday night, and then Saturday night we do Game Awards. We do that every year.
Yeah.
To
Can
wrap
I-
up the year.
Can I say something about Jeff Keighley?
Please.
That guy in recent years has taken a lot of punches. There was the Doritos Gate thing, there was the VGXs, just really awful, humiliating things. And if that were me, I would say, no, thank you, I don't want to do this anymore, because that would be tough to go through. But he just keeps going. He wants to have a legitimate Game Awards show, and he did it, and it's going to keep getting better. Like, the persistence of that guy is impressive, and I think he definitely deserves props for that.
Oh yeah, you can't knock him down. You put
Yeah.
up a little Doritos Pope meme,
He's the best around.
washes right off him. He's a
That's-
Stony Shore.
That's incredibly impressive. Yeah.
He reminds me of the T1000. Like he's just
Yeah.
Nice.
he's
We're gonna
but he
get
just
some
has
gifts out of that,
he
man.
just has that look in his eye where it's just like
Yeah.
you're just saying stone cold. It's like, wow, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. You know what the craziest thing was actually when they were doing the production of the Game Awards this year, he would do nightly streams on Twitch and
Yeah.
like answer questions. That was even talking to him in person. That was the most personal I've ever seen Jeff Keighley.
It was funny because
was
the Game
cool.
Awards was like so perfect. The stage was just shimmering in all sorts of directions and
Yeah.
just like massive shit. This is the stage Britney performs on, you know,
Yeah.
just like huge guests, you know, and like those streams are just like him and his jammies.
Some air
in
conditioner.
some
in the
room,
background.
yeah, wherever they do, whenever they showed off Legend of Zelda, whatever room that is. It's kind of like, hey,
You really hate that room.
cup of coffee.
Quarterly financial results came in from both Microsoft and Nintendo this week. What's funny is like one's in Q2 and the other's in Q3. Like quarters are so weird.
Yeah.
So to summarize this quickly, Microsoft shipped 6.6 million Xbox consoles. That means both 360 and Xbox One. Revenue decreased 20% over last year, but they still they shipped a lot of consoles. Revenue is down, because of those deals. Another thing they blamed is the generational shift.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not as many people buying 360s.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's not, what did they put out? Like Forza Horizon 2 on the 360 and it was the bad version? I mean,
Oh, I forgot that even came out on 360.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they didn't have much from that huge install base. They're building a new install base, and as you said, they're probably losing money on every Xbox One that's getting sold right now.
Right. So when I think when you look at a number of revenue decreasing 20%, you can't take it too seriously. I think that was an expected decrease in revenue.
That's like what
Yeah.
we did when we moved from Viacom to Defy. It was just a generational shift.
So let's talk about Nintendo. Oh, their profits are up massively from last year. Last year,
Massively.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's up like 400-something%, their profits. However, their sales expectations for the rest of the year have decreased. They're like, we're not going to sell as many games this year for the rest of the year, and consoles and things like that. I don't know what to take from any of this.
They don't have a Smash Brothers this year.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, they do because that will probably keep selling.
It'll keep
but-
selling. Mewtwo's
yeah.
going to come out. Don't worry about Smash Bros. But yeah, weird year ahead. I think they're being realistic about the new 3DS. I think they're assuming it's not going to explode.
They're going to sell a lot of Amiibo.
And they're going to sell a lot of Amiibo.
That
There was
is
an
true.
Amiibo announcement this week actually about how many Amiibo they sold. Millions. I think that alone, it was like something like 6.7 million Amiibo sold.
Like Toad came out for pre-order or something today or the
Yeah.
other day, and like by the time people got to
I would
social
love a
media
Toad.
to let people know, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was crushed,
sold
Brendan
that.
Jones.
You wanted the Toad?
I went on Amazon to pre-order Toad, and it was available, and I was like, I had to do something, so I had to leave my desk. By the time I came back to my desk, Toad was sold out.
Wow.
I've fallen into a deep Amiibo hole, and I don't regret anything.
See, the
And that's the
thing,
thing that even like 10 years down the road, Disney with Infinity can just be like, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. People are like,
Oh my God.
you know, it's like,
you're
doesn't
right.
matter. You just name it, you know, it's
Yeah.
like.
yeah, so the thing for me, like, I don't care about even trying to collect all of them. There's so many that, like, there's no way I would ever do it. But the ones that I want end up being these stupid rare things.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want Sheik. Can I get Sheik and Toad? Like, no, apparently
No,
not.
You can't get those.
Apparently, like, I think I can get Sheik for like twice what its sticker price is. But even that, I'm like, it's $25 for that? Come on.
What's wrong? You had a sigh.
No, I just until I bought them, I hated amiibos. I thought they were stupid, and now I love them.
So what did it take for you to buy the first amiibo?
So I'm somebody, I'm a total sucker for this, and that's why I fell into the Hearthstone pit. Is if you tell me there's something I can't do in a video game because I don't have this thing, it just drives me insane. I have to give me the full game. I want the whole experience. So in Hyrule Warriors, you can't get the spinner weapon unless you buy the Link amiibo.
What?
Oh no, I thought you could buy it separately.
No.
Oh my
no,
God.
you have to have the Link amiibo. And I really like Twilight Princess. I
Sure.
love the spinner weapon. I'm super enjoying Hyrule Warriors. And I said, well, if I just buy one, it'll be all right. And so I go and I buy one and I get the spinner weapon and I'm like, no, these are actually extremely well made figures. And then you start thinking, oh, I actually am super attached to all of these characters that I grew up with and I love all of them. And maybe if I just buy another one, you know, Luigi in his cool Smash Brothers stance, and it's just a deep, dark spiral. Yeah.
It's good. I'm glad we have the inside track on somebody who's hooked on amiibo.
Yeah. Does that make any sense, or am I just completely irrational?
It absolutely does.
Both.
It's what I fear. It's
Yeah.
what has kept me from buying a single amiibo thus far.
And what's cool about it is it would have been very easy for Nintendo to just make Mario characters and Link and very popular things, but there's a Shulk figure?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
Marth, Ike, they didn't have to do that.
A villager?
And they did. Yeah. You know?
You know what they should
Deep
do that they haven't
cuts.
done yet? They should do repaints. They should do like their alternate colors from Smash Bros. Those should be amiibo as well.
That'd be.
Don't give them ideas, Kyle.
Okay, but they absolutely should do that. Let's transition into, well, you're the one who started this conversation. This, of course, is a segment in which we pull comments, suggestions from the comments about what we should talk about. Our first one comes from, that's funny, that's a very appropriate username, Arkham Fantasy. What do you guys think that for every great licensed game like Arkham Asylum, we get 100 shovelware licensed games that the publishers seemingly want to be bad? Doesn't it make more sense to try and turn that IP into a big success the way Warner Bros. Did with Batman?
No.
Okay.
This is an easy.
Well, that is an easy
question.
no. It does not make more sense to make good Batman game, like a good licensed game.
Not when you're one of those soulless suits. It doesn't make any sense.
So let's just say we're working for Activision and we're making a Deadpool game.
This is the worst thing I've ever had to imagine.
Yeah.
This happened.
Yeah, that's why this happens.
Yeah, so from their perspective,
Yeah.
they don't care about quality. If something is hot right now, they just want to cash in the name. It's about getting something out quickly to capitalize on the momentum of whatever's popular at the time. They don't care about reviews. They don't care about any of that because there are enough people in the world that are attached to this name, to this brand, that will just buy it. To make something like an Arkham Asylum, it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. You have to cultivate it, right? When it's way easier to just cash in.
Yeah. like
That's
Duck
the awful,
Dynasty,
terrible
remember?
world.
Oh, I remember Duck Dynasty. There's actually a surprising amount of work put into Duck Dynasty. It's a higher budget than I thought that would be there, but I think that's exactly it. It is that dumb balance of how much more money we would make if this game was better, and it wouldn't be that much more.
But the frustrating thing is when you talk to these people who make these decisions, you know, they ran Guitar Hero into the ground in a very obvious, awful way, and they just don't get it. They're like, wait, why aren't people buying these anymore? They don't understand. It's all about short-term gain. They don't take a big picture. You know, the Arkham games, as long as they maintain their quality, could be around for a very long time. But you know, if you make a Superman game, everybody's skeptical because they've always been cheap, poorly produced things.
I think
Yeah.
time is the optimum word because like those suits, when they basically make those financial decisions, it's like, yeah, how much money are we going to invest in it? But really, like, why are we doing this, and how much time do we have before the relevancy burns out over like why we're doing, like why Deadpool is popular or why we can make a Smurfs game or whatever. Like why.
So like Batman, for instance, is eternal.
It's not tied to anything. Yeah.
Sure.
So like that game's coming out, like they delayed it, not to like coincide with that Batman thing that's happening. Like they delayed it to make it a better game, and so like that, poor guy like Deadpool is not going to have that much clout to get that much time and earn that.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what happens with movie games. It's like, this game is going to come out when the movie comes out, and any assets that they're going to get from that movie are going to come really late. And whatever time they got, that's the time they've got. And whatever state that game is in, it's going to come out on the movie's release date no matter what.
You know what bums me out? I'm playing through Spider-Man on PS1 right now. That game is full of love. That game is full of love, and this, I think just last year we saw Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's a better game than Amazing Spider-Man 2. You will have more fun playing Spider-Man on PS1 than you will playing Amazing Spider-Man 2 on your next-gen console. That bums me out beyond belief. Do you think it would have made more sense for them? Would they have made more money if they said, "Yo, let's do Spider-Man right. Let's do an Arkham of Spider-Man. Let's give Spider-Man his own game."
But that's an
like
entirely
Spider-Man."
different license, though, right? Like they've, well, the same thing. They've been doing that with Spider-Man, but they've not gone at the Arkham level.
They did it like yearly. They had like yearly Spider-Man
Yeah, like
games.
Shattered.
Yeah, they had Web of
Emotions or
Shadows,
Web of
Yeah.
Shadows, right?
Shattered. What I forget what the time. There's a time.
Friend or foe, man.
Friend or
active-
Foe is a total. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like they're all just total duds.
But I think I don't think all of them were total duds. I just think
Right.
some of them were, kind of in that sevens range. Like, oh, this is good, but it's not anywhere like approaching what an Arkham would be. Yeah.
In a weird way, I feel like Marvel movies are single-handedly changing all of this. Because I don't think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a very good movie. And I don't think it did as well as Sony would have liked. Because Marvel keeps releasing all of these films, and they keep being of such high quality that they're kind of phasing out all of the quick cash-ins. And, if an Ant-Man movie came out 10 years ago, no one probably would have seen it.
Yeah.
But because you're saying, no, it's a Marvel movie, people are excited. I hope people see the Ant-Man movie just because it has that name attached to it. And there have been so many of them that when you say comic book movie, it doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth anymore. Like, when we talk about good licensed games, Batman always comes up, but not much else does. There haven't been enough good examples of like Arkham Asylums for the suits to change their mindset.
Yeah.
But how many bad superhero movies do you see? Not that many anymore.
Fantastic Four.
That was a long time ago.
No, it's coming. There's a new one. It looks a little dreadful. Looks very self-serious,
Oh,
which bums me out.
maybe
Don't
I'm
do
just completely wrong.
that. No. Exactly. That's it's going to happen. But you're right. I guess they dump money in those superhero movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the biggest movies being made now.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's almost like it seems like this unsinkable ship. So somebody just who has the depth and breadth of something like Marvel needs to take all of their properties and apply the same approach to it and just kind of throw a blanket over the whole thing.
Yeah. Imagine if Marvel games were as good as Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best
Well, that's
Marvel
like-
game is the Lego game, right?
Yeah.
DC always really has a weird they're kind of like the opposite of Marvel in a lot of ways. Whenever they work on stuff, like when one's up, the other's down. Like when DC
Yeah.
movies are up, Marvel movies are down, and vice versa. Or like Marvel animated was really confused for a while, but what they were going to do in DC animated was kicking ass. Like for direct to DVD stuff and TV stuff. But so yeah, they both have their pluses and minuses.
You're saying DC's got the best games?
Uh,
Based off the back of Arkham alone, yes, they do.
Yeah,
we
right
can just
now.
say that. Yeah.
As far as like actual trip, like when we're getting together talking about the top 10 anticipated games of the next year, like
Yeah.
a DC game is on there.
That's pretty crazy, yeah.
Lego Marvel, even if that had been announced, probably for this year, like
Would not rank in
would
top
not have been
50.
in our top 10.
Yeah.
Like I'll play it; it'll be super fun, but it just doesn't get up there with Witcher and Zelda and other things.
Yeah, but Batman somehow does. Next one comes from Boston Shawnee D.
All right.
Frequent commenter. I like Boston Shawnee D. Which game did you buy the most amount of times? This is a really interesting question. So he went on to say that he's bought Diablo 2 many, many times over many things.
Oh, this is a Ben Moore question.
Yeah, so which game have you bought the most amount of times? I'll count remasters if you bought a
Okay,
remaster of
that was
it.
my question.
Which game have you bought the most amount of times?
I've bought every version of Final Fantasy available in North America except for the WonderSwan version.
Final Fantasy 1.
Final Fantasy 1.
So how many versions is that? Let's count them out.
Okay, so there's NES,
Okay.
there's PlayStation 1,
Uh-huh.
there's Game Boy Advance,
Okay.
there's PSP,
All right.
there's iOS.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm forgetting one, but that's all I can remember.
Wait,
I think there were 10 when I did the FF Retro like 7 years ago.
But some of those are Japanese only.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
So, okay, we got 5 at least. 5 confirmed. That's what we have to break. Blood. Which game have you bought the most amount of times?
I mean, I don't really know off the top of my head. I think that I've bought Super Metroid 4 times. Like, because
Okay, how
I
have you
had
bought
it
it
on
4
Super
times?
NES that I
Uh-huh.
saved up money for.
Absolutely.
You know, mowing the yard and stuff. And then
All Nintendo games.
my Super Nintendo got stolen, and so I had rebought a cartridge.
Did you have to mow the lawn again to get like saved
No,
up
I mean, it's
again?
when I was an adult.
Okay. Stolen out of your house?
And then I bought it on the Virtual Console on the Wii.
Yeah.
And then I bought it on the Wii U Virtual Console because it was only 30 cents.
Counts. We'll count
Yeah.
it. Well, how did it get stolen? Out of your house?
Yeah. I was actually home at the time. I was like living in like a back house, and I was in the front house, and somebody just slipped back there and grabbed my Super Nintendo and my games.
Nintendo. Oh, God. Okay.
It was like
that hurts.
2000 or 2001, something like that.
Who would steal a Super Nintendo in 2001? Just an a-hole. Like, you're not getting pawned that off for a lot of money. You're just robbing someone of joy. Okay, Brandon, what game have you bought the most times?
Probably Final Fantasy 1. I maybe 6 over because I remember seeing many versions of 1, but I don't know if I bought them necessarily. Where like I had Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation.
Oh, Game Boy Advance as well,
PlayStation
yeah.
1, and iOS when that came out.
Yeah. Mine, I think, is Link's Awakening. And I think it's only 3 times. Once,
Oh, that makes sense.
Once DX, once when I got a Game Boy Light, I played through Link's Awakening, and once I got it on the eShop. I think that's mine. So that's only 3. I try not to buy games multiple times. It just happens. And sometimes it's just easier. It's easier to just buy that game again than to keep games around your
Well,
house.
especially with portable games like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Thanks for that question. I thought that was an interesting
Yeah, that's a
question.
good one.
I like that little perspective on everybody. Next one comes from Everybody Lies. Everybody Lies says, "You're
Correct
the one."
spelling?
No, there's actually a
Zero.
instead of the O, it's a 0. So
Close.
Everybody Lies. You're the one who started this conversation. Is the longest, silliest title for a segment. Kyle sounds ridiculous every time he says it. Change it, please. No. Everyone, that was, well, you're the one who started this conversation. Let's do bets. Let's talk about bets. Here's our bet for
All
this
right.
week. Apex 2015 happening this weekend. This is traditionally a Smash-only tournament. However, Nintendo has now officially endorsed it, so we're going to see some Splatoon happen in there this weekend, some Pokemon happening
But they've
there this
said
weekend.
that Splatoon is the same E3 demo.
Right.
So,
But
I mean,
we'll-
that's cool if you haven't played it, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
kind of disappointing for those of us who have.
well, I mean, no. I mean, now regular humans can play it. At E3,
I
regular
think that there
humans
have been
aren't there.
places that they could play it before.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be cool to see an excited fan base
Yeah.
dig into it.
Splatoon's gonna be amazing.
It's weird because it's a year-old version of the game.
Yeah, you're right. So it actually probably is way far above what they're even playing this weekend. Anyway, the Smash tournament, Smash Brothers for Wii U. Which character will place the furthest? I get to go first or last. I'll go first. I didn't even look at tiers because I don't believe in them at this early in the phase. I'm going to say the character who wins this tournament is... How do I come into this without planning? The character who wins this tournament is not who you think it is. It's Zelda. Princess Zelda wins this tournament. Okay, Ben, who wins this tournament? Or gets the furthest?
Oh man. It's not gonna happen, but I just want it to be true.
Yeah,
Rosalina.
nice. Blood, who wins this tournament?
I actually did look at tiers, so I'm going to go with Diddy Kong.
It's the best pick. That's a great pick. Everyone's saying, please nerf Diddy Kong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do one for my boy Mike Huber and say Bowser.
Nice.
Nice.
I love that pick. Okay, let me lock those in. Okay, let's talk about last week's bet. This turned out very interesting, I have to say. So, I was going to go to GameRankings.com and look at the 8 most recent reviews for
Right.
Dying Light. Here's what happened. There are not 8 most recent reviews for Dying Light. There are 6. So I'm looking at the 6 most recent
Is
reviews.
mine in there? Did they put that up yet?
No, they didn't put that up yet.
Ah.
So we're looking for the word parkour. How many times will the word parkour appear in the 6 most recent reviews of Dying Light? Amongst 6 reviews, the word parkour appeared 21 times.
Wow.
21 times! All of us bet beneath 8.
So like on average, people use it 4 times in the
Yes.
first paragraph?
Yeah. Not in the first paragraph, but throughout the whole thing. I go throughout the entire review.
Oh, I thought it was just the first paragraph.
No, the whole review.
Oh.
What's really depressing?
Because I said like 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's depressing?
Word repetition is one of the worst things plaguing game reviews.
Yeah.
Ours included. We're just as guilty of this. We don't have enough words to talk about games. If you do a Control F on certain phrases in any review, it's super depressing.
Yeah.
And it's something that I wish we could fix.
We'll fix it.
Yeah.
Baby steps, man.
Baby
We're
steps.
an evolving thing. We're
Yeah.
just video games are still early,
Yeah.
especially video game critique. Elise bet 7. 7 out of 8. I thought she was crazy. No, 21 is the amount of parkour. So that means guest seat gets a point. So for those keeping track, that's 2 points for guest seat, 1 for Bloodworth, 1 for Brandon Jones, 0 for me. The man who comes up with
So
the
I
questions.
went low on that one? Is that what happened?
Yeah, you went low on that one.
Shouldn't have gone low. Oh well.
Jim Sterling alone had 6 parkours in his review, which to me I think was like he gave the game a 5. I think it was being a little fun with using parkour that much, but it happened. Wow, we've never been that off. That's probably the most off we've been on a bet. So Ben, what you win is not only the right to close out the show, but you can promote any video you want on GameTrailers.com.
Every time, I think every time I've been on GT Time, I've won somebody else's bet.
Hey man,
I'm not complaining. I just think it's funny. The video I want to plug, last week we had an insane episode of Tabletop Adventures that we had a lot of fun with. So check that out. I think it's called Eight-Legged Pervent. If you click on the shows tab and you go to Tabletop Adventures, it's the first one there. So
Eight-Legged Pervents.
Eight-Legged Pervents.
So let's
There's got to be
say
a second one there when they want
let's say I'm not familiar with
Oh, yeah,
Tabletop
yeah.
Adventures.
Right.
Yeah, so you'd actually have to go one beneath it. Let's say I'm not familiar with the show. Give me a quick sell on that show.
It is us playing D&D, and the way everyone gets into their characters is phenomenal. I think we have a lot of just really funny moments and a good chemistry with each other. It's almost like an improv show, basically. And you're right, I shouldn't be promoting the most recent episode because it won't make any sense. We're super deep in the adventure. So if you're not familiar with Tabletop Adventures, watch the first episode. Things will make a lot more sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think you could hop in and still get it. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Spurvins can be appreciated by all, I think. Yeah.
I appreciate Spurvins. Oh, and then you can sign us off.
How do I do that?
Oh, just say like, here's your Twitter name, say thanks for watching, we'll be back next week, that sort of thing.
Don't sound
Okay.
like that, please, God.
Well, I'm at BenMoore035
Oh,
on
you don't have
Twitter.
to say no.
Oh.
But if you want to, do it. No, if you want to
I
say
was just
it out
gonna
loud.
go.
Not
on
that
the-
way, Ben. Oh,
man.
God.
It's his right.
I'm getting so
Blood,
self-conscious now.
he won the bet. He gets to do it any
Yeah.
way he wants.
All right. Well, since I've already started, we're just gonna keep going.
Okay.
On Twitter, I'm at BenMoore035.
I'm at DBloodworth2.
I am Game Trailers VO.
And I am at Michael P. Huber.
It's been great being on the show. Thanks for having me. And I hope you guys watch GT Town next week.
I love.